And the 2015 Act, which was enacted to protect women from domestic violence, I understand that it's been repealed to sort of align with the realities that we have on ground. The reps are trying to, input a broader understanding of the Act, which would include eliminating violence against all persons in both private and public life. Will this include rape in marriage and other vices within private life? Help us understand that.
Yes, I think the Act as it is now is all-encompassing. Basically, it covers all forms of violations, all forms of violence, including violence such as, physical violence, sexual violence, emotional, psychological, and even economic violence. But more importantly, it's enacted just to provide some level of protection for women and girls who are the main victims of violence. As it is today, what the Act is supposed to do is to provide a comprehensive measure through which individuals will be able to prevent and respond appropriately to violence. Responding appropriately means when you are within that space where violence is occurring, which can be within a known space, which is within the home, perpetrated by people that are known to the victim, such as intimate partners, which can be also be family members, or even within the workplace. And this can be perpetrated by acquaintances or colleagues at work, and in public spaces, which can include strangers that are completely unknown to the victim. So the most important thing is for victims to recognize when they are victim of such or when they are exposed to such situation, and to be able to identify where such issue will be reported so that the action can be taken to mitigate the consequences of this act, because the consequences can be profound, which can range from some kind of a physical effect. It can also affect the mental well-being of the victim, and at the same time, it can affect the overall quality of life of the victim. So the Act as it is now is all-encompassing, but the most important issue is about domestication in different states of the country, because it's still a federal act. And of course, once it's domesticated, then of course we then need to go through the second phase of making it implementable, which is still a long way from here.
This seems to happen in different phases. There is the commission of that crime against the other gender. There is the punishments of the same crime. And another thing is, okay, if justice is served, how do you think we can help victims of sexual violence, by assisting them to get needed medical attention and understanding their rights?
Yeah, the most important way we can help is is part of what we are doing here today, is this public campaign, public awareness campaign, so that individuals are able to understand, to identify when they are in such situation, and to be able to seek appropriate help, and of course to know where the help can be sought. And of course, after such, because like I mentioned, the effect of violence, of domestic violence, of gender-based violence, can range from physical effects, such as, of course, injuries, and of course, physical injuries, and it can also be mental health effect. And at the same time, it can also have an effect on the overall quality of life. So more importantly, it is for the victim to be able to know when they are in such situation, to know where they can get the help that they need. And of course, where they can get the help, so that people that we attend to them, such as doctors, such as psychologists, such as social workers, and even the law enforcement agency, will show some level of empathy, so that they don't put the victim in a situation where the victim feel that the act is their own fault, so that subsequently other victims will be able to get the help that they need without feeling victimized or feeling stigmatized at the end of the day.
So help us understand, in the line of duty, I'm sure you see this kind of cases every day. What is the prevalence? How much of these cases do you see on a daily basis? And what's the line of action that, you take when you notice some of these signs? And also, these victims, are they usually willing to, help interrogation, help investigation and other things?
Yes, thank you for that question. Gender-based violence can come in different forms. It can be domestic violence, which can be perpetrated by somebody that is known to the victim, like I mentioned earlier. It can be an intimate partner, like the spouse. It can even be, family members, and it can come in the form of rape, sexual assault. It can be in the form of sexual harassment, even in the workplace. So, more importantly, when such situation come, especially when it involves some form of physical injury, like in the case of rape and assault, and they present to the hospital, to the healthcare providers, the next point of action for us as healthcare providers is to ensure that we'll treat all physical injuries, because that can be life-threatening sometimes. Some victims come with, with very debilitating, very life-threatening physical injury. So that needs to be taken care of. Then after that, of course, there are other issues that come with that, like, issue of, sexually transmitted infection, which, the perpetrators could introduce into the victims. So that needs to be taken care of in terms of, treatment, preventing such from occurring. And of course, we also need to look at providing some support in form of psychological, social support for victims, and of course, also escalating it to the level of the law enforcement agency, depending on what the victim desires. Because sometimes, just like we have seen, a lot of victims don't even want it reported. But on us is for us to actually allow them to be able to see the reason why such issues should be reported, because if they keep quiet, then of course others will fall victim. We also fall victim under the same circumstance, which more often than not, they understand. So it's quite common. It's quite common, at least in terms of rape and sexual assault. Usually from every point in time, at least you tend to see at least 1 or 2 cases every month. But of course, it goes beyond what the rape and sexual assault. It goes to things like Afro-traditional practices, which is still quite prevalent in Nigeria. A lot of girls and women are still exposed to female genital mutilation, to harmful, widowhood rights, where women are made to drink the water that was used to bathe the corpse of the husband. Yeah. So all this can be, these are gory things that we may not be able to talk about on screen, but they happen every day in Nigeria. And that is part of what we are trying to curb and prevent from occurring. But more importantly, education of the potential victim is the most important thing. And of course, going beyond girls and women, everybody can be a victim, even men and boys. That's right. But we know that the most affected, group of people are actually, women and girls, especially in Nigeria.
That's right. So